Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about something that I'm sure a lot of you underutilize, and it's not really your fault, considering the game doesn't really show how much of a benefit this is to you after you've kind of went through the training once, and that's weather. So in the basic training, they do talk about the weather in here. But if you were like me, you probably went in here just to get the normal summon ticket so you could summon. And then you left. On top of that, they also have it in the tutorials, in miscellaneous, buried in battle info, to the second last thing. So yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think people really understand the impact of the weather in this game. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, because it might help with team compositions, or maybe have you understand how good a hero is, just based on the fact that they can change the weather. So the 5 types of weather in this game, I don't know if they're going to add more, but it's day, night, rain, squall, which is like windy, and then heat. Now you can see this in specific dungeons. You can't see it in Plane of Beast because Plane of Beast doesn't have any kind of weather. But let's take a look at Gorgos. So Gorgos, he does have an environment effect. He has a day and heat environment. And if you look here, if it's during the day, these are all of the heroes that benefit from daytime. And the benefits are pretty huge. And it's the same thing for all 5 types of weather. Like, these stats don't change. If it's their beneficial weather environment, this is the stuff that they'll get. So they'll get 30% more crit damage, which is nuts. 10%, not 10%, plus 10 attack speed. This is also huge. And they'll take 5% less damage. These are all huge buffs. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think people really underestimate this. And then the heroes that benefit from the heat are Jillian, Gawain, Bors, Sarah, Clementine. Like, there's good heroes here that benefit from these effects. Like I said, there's also Rain. So here's Rain. Oh, sorry, Rain is at the bottom here. So heroes like Tristan, Anguish, Rosier, Isolde, Lancelot. And then you also have Wind, or Squall, I guess they say, and Nighttime. So these are the heroes that benefit from the nighttime. Again, some pretty big hitters. And then you also have Wind, which I think is a little bit less, but there are obviously some pretty big ones in here, these top 3. So yeah, like all of these heroes that benefit from this, you want to try and build teams that can benefit in these dungeons. Now, I know kind of maybe what you're thinking, because this is what I was thinking as well when I first saw the weather stuff. So let's take Gorgos, for example. With day and heat, you see all of these heroes that benefit. And you're like, okay, great. But the problem is none of these heroes are actually good in Gorgos, right? Because Gorgos is based around damage over time effects. But you did see that some heroes with Rain, down at the bottom here, like Anguish. Anguish is amazing in Gorgos. Rosier, amazing in Gorgos. So is Isolde. And then if you look at the nighttime, right? If you look at nighttime benefit heroes, you have heroes like Dejaret. Dejaret is a god in Gorgos. So how do you actually benefit from having those heroes with their environment effects? Well, thankfully, the game has heroes in this game that can change the weather, which is awesome, right? So if you click on the sort button there and you go to change weather, these are all the heroes that change weather. So Morgan is a hero that you get for free. Her weather changing ability is a bit situational, because she has to be under 50% HP. Merlin's a great hero. We've talked about him in a specific video. On his passive, whenever you use the skill 2, he can change it to day. Now, Turin, though, Turin is an amazing hero. So whenever she comes into play, if you have 2 additional copies of her, because the game gives you a free copy, if you have 2 additional copies, you can unlock her Chivalry 1, which whenever she starts the battle, she changes it to Knight and Rain. This is absolutely huge because you saw, heroes, you have your heroes like Dejaret, you have your heroes like Isolde, you have your heroes like Rosier that all benefit from it either being Knight or Rain, which are just so happen to be the 2 things that Turin ends up changing the weather to. So if we go into a dungeon like Gorgos, right? We'll go into Gorgos. He starts out with heat and daytime. But if you bring this team in, you'll see that Turin ends up changing the weather to Night and Rain. And now all of your heroes here, Turin and Dejaret, they get more attack speed, they have less damage taken, and they deal more critical strike damage. And then your Rain heroes, Isolde and Rosier, they're down here and they're benefiting from those those buffs. So very, very cool. Permanent effects here. See, attack speed up, critical strike damage up, attack speed. All of them are benefiting from the weather. So now you have a four-man team that has heals, has DOT removal, and less damage taken on your damage dealers with the DOTs to go in here and just wreak havoc on Gorgos. So absolutely fantastic. The same applies to other dungeons that you wouldn't really think benefit from this. But if you look a little bit more into your team compositions, I think you'll see the possibilities that are there. So let's say the equipment dungeon, right? This dungeon right here, notorious for being way too hard, and I agree. And sadly, it's gate kept by one hero, which just so happens to be a legendary. But this boss really is weak to this Mark debuff. And it kind of spells it out here in the Mark section of this boss. And as you can see, it's all uncommon heroes except the one legendary. And she's very, very good in here. But if you look into the environment effects, Sigrund is nowhere to be found. But wouldn't you know it, Sigrund, of course, benefits from the nighttime or rain. I forget which one it is. But now, because we brought Turin and we changed the environment to rain, Sigrun now takes less damage. She deals more damage, where she is kind of a force in this dungeon already, and she has more attack speed. So now you took a dungeon that she wasn't supposed to benefit from at all, and now she is way more strong. No one else really benefits from the effects in here. But yeah, you get the point. So Turin, Sigrun, and Morgan, they're all way faster, and they take less damage and deal more damage. So that's not the only thing that you can benefit from. The attack speed is really key. I want to show you something. Like, if I bring in a team here without Turin to change the weather, let's say I bring in someone like Sarah, who's a great healer. But now, if you look at my attack order, over here, you see Bedivere is faster than Morgan. That's not good, because you want Morgan to be able to put up these abilities, like on her passive, that increase damage and put defense down on an enemy. So if Morgan ends up going before Bedivere, she can put that debuff on one of these enemies, and then possibly even one-shot him. So let's say, we have this same turn order, right? We have this turn order going, and we have Bedivere, who's a great damage dealer. Let's say he was to go in and attack this guy. the amount of damage that he put up, like he almost took him down to half health, right? That's pretty good. But if we bring in, our turn instead of Sarah, change the weather to nighttime, to have Sigrun and Morgan go faster, it doesn't have any benefit to Bedivere. But because Morgan gets that 10 plus speed whenever the weather changes, now Morgan is going in front of Bedivere. Very, very important. So we can have Morgan use her skill 1, which benefits from her passive here, Squall of Thorns, and put up, hopefully, some debuffs on this guy. Okay, land both of those debuffs. And now we have Bedivere going in there and possibly even killing this guy. Right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So the weather is such a key piece in this game to help you build the right type of teams. Now, Turin, I think you're getting the point here. Turin is an absolutely amazing hero. I think a lot of people sleep on her, but if she's not that chivalry one and changes it to night and rain, she gets way worse because her healing is based on the weather. So if she has night time, then she's able to put recovery over time. If she doesn't have the nighttime, weather effect, then she's not able to really be a solid healer. So yeah, Turin is fantastic there. But let's take a look at some other heroes that, change the weather that might help you, be able to build some teams. So we talked about Morgan. We talked about Merlin. So Merlin, fantastic in a dungeon like Plane of Beasts, which I think gets underutilized for Merlin. So in Plane of Beasts, if you're struggling here, let's say, the team that most people use, which is Tristan, Kay, Morgan, and then like a healer. Say you're struggling. You're not able to just get over the hump. Well, let's bring in Merlin, right? There's no benefit to the weather here, but as we know, Merlin can change the weather with his skill 2 to daytime. And guess who benefits from the daytime? Kay. Kay is another one of those heroes that you want to bring in to have her attack speed up. She's a great damage dealer too in Plane of Beasts. So if you don't want to use Tristan as your Plane of Beasts damage dealer, you can certainly use Kay, especially with Merlin, because now Kay is getting 30% additional crit damage. Now, the thing that you have to pay attention to is you can't use someone like Turin, or you're just going to conflict. You're bringing in someone who's changing it to day, and then you have someone who changes it to night and rain. Now, even Morgan kind of conflicts with Merlin, because if her health is below 50%, she's going to end up changing the weather, to nighttime, and then Kay is going to be slower and she's going to deal less damage. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you have to pay attention to it. But anyway, that's kind of the point of this video, is to really not sleep on weather. There are some other heroes in here that have some weather whenever they come into play. Like this hero is really, really nice. She has the ability to change it to night and squall. So if you have heroes that benefit, from the wind more so than rain with Turin, maybe this hero is viable. Sadly, I think this hero is kind of like an arena champion, but I think she's also pretty good in Forbidden Dungeon. She has a lot of abnormal status effects, so stunning, making sure that heroes do not get an extra turn, and she also has this kind of cool passive that she triggers this bonus attack where it attacks all enemies, and it deals 4% of the target's max HP. So the higher you scale in Forbidden Dungeon, I think this could end up being pretty good. Gawain also has on his passive the ability to change the weather to day and heat. So if you have the ability to really benefit from that with your team compositions, don't overlook that. This hero is an uncommon, and I think he changes it to wind. Oh, so whenever he's using skill 3, he can change it to rain. These heroes also are not to be underestimated, okay? Because Killian changes it to rain. He doesn't affect day or night. Merlin benefits from the day, so does K. So if this guy benefits from, it says here he benefits from the night, but you don't really need him to be benefited. If he changes it to rain on his skill 3, which is just a one-hitter, let's say you have him, and then you have someone like Tristan. Tristan is one of the heroes, as we've mentioned multiple times before, is very good in this dungeon. And what does Tristan benefit from? You bet. Rain. So, yeah, it's a lot of cool mixing and matching. But hopefully this will help you build some more efficient synergistic teams. Again, don't sleep on it. I think it's very, very strong. And yeah, I hope this helped, guys. And that's all I got for you today. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.